Hello friends, welcome to my session again. Let me recapitalize as to what I did in my last session. I just introduced you to the topic of HRP, Human Resource Planning. In Human Resource Planning, we just discussed what are the features of Human Resource Planning, or what are the objectives of Human Resource Planning, or what is the process of Human Resource Planning. Ultimately, the crux is that we are only talking about demand and supply. What kind of demand of people do we have in the company, and what is the current supply that exists in the company. So, in this session, I will be continuing with the topic of HRP only, Human Resource Planning. So, in the Human Resource Planning, we know that we are talking about the right number of people that we need in a company, and there can be several ways by which the people they can leave the organization. And there can be different ways by which we actually demand forecast it also. That the demand forecasting is very, very essential. Because if we do not forecast, then either there will be too many people or there will be less people. So, we want an optimum number of people those who can serve in the organization, so that there is neither shortage nor surplus. So, there can be different kind of tools and techniques that can be adopted in the case of HRP. So, let us have a look at this first. In the case of tools and techniques which are used in HRP is definitely understanding the requirement. How we understand the requirement, maybe you can see on the screen, it is all related with the help of job analysis, or maybe the task analysis, or maybe anything which is related with the workday shooting, time recording, scenario planning, succession planning, extrapolation, correlation, or maybe physical or work productivity assessment, or maybe the critical incident method. So, ultimately understanding the requirement need, there can be different ways. For example, if anyone has died, if anyone has left the company, or if the company has gone for the expansion or diversification, we have new people. Or we know that as an HR professional, you do not know what kind of people are working in different departments. It is only the departmental head that or they are going to give us the requisition that okay, we need so and so specified number of people of such category, such a skill set, and we need it in maybe 4 days, or maybe in 1 day, or maybe in 1 month when the notice period is served to them. So, that is how we understand that how many people do we actually need. Or once we do that job analysis part, we know that okay, if I am starting a company, I will be needing, or if I am expanding, I know that okay, I am opening a new branch, then I will be needing 2 receptionists, I will be needing 3 managers, I will be needing maybe 5 class 4th employees. So, I know that okay, these are the people whom I have to deal with, or these are the numbers which I need. So, definitely determining the human resource requirement. Second, it talks about the forecasting HR needs. Now, again, HR need is like dynamics of market demand and supply. We have to demarcate or between what is needed and what we have. So, we have to do the forecasting. So, forecasting on the company's branch of activity. So, if we know that if there is a lot of footfall in the branch, so that means okay, I need to increase the number of people. So, that is one way that we can actually forecast. Or the forecasting can be done on the evaluation of the national economy. Okay, if the economy is progressing, maybe our company is expanding. Once the company is expanding, we will be needing more people, or the dynamics of the company's turnover. Now, what is the meaning of dynamics of turnover? This is a very, very important concept. So, turnover basically means the rate at which new people are joining the company and old people are leaving the company. So, ideally this rate of turnover should be less. If the rate of turnover is less, that means that people of the company, they are happy and satisfied, and a positive word of mouth is going outside the company. Therefore, the goodwill of the company is very good. But on the other hand side, or on the flip side, if this rate of turnover is very high, that means something is going wrong somewhere. An HR department has to take cognizance of it very seriously and identify the issues which is actually provoking people to leave the company. So, rate of turnover can also be one of the indicators of our HRP. Then we have got something known as dynamics of production, productivity dynamics analysis. Simple. If the production is increasing, that means we need more people in the company. If the products of the company, they are being sold and the demand is very high of the products, that means we have to diversify. We have to have more people because we need to have more production. So that production dynamics is one of the ways by which we can forecast our demand. Then we can have something related with trend analysis, regression method, Delphi method. Delphi method is again one which I spoke in my previous lecture, where we can have a group of experts and there is a mediator, and then the responses are compiled together and then the decision is taken. Then we have something related with Gantt chart, business plans, or maybe some kind of retirement index, staff fluctuation index. Now, retirement index, now for example, if I have 30 people working in my company, and there are 15 people who are aged, and we know that okay, 10 are in their middle age. So we know that okay, maybe somebody is expiring retiring after 4 months, somebody is retiring after 6 months. So we know that in next 4 months there will be 3 vacancies that will be created, and maybe in next 6 months maybe 2 are created. So 3 plus 2 means 5. So this is how also we can actually, with the help of retirement index, we can forecast that what kind of people we will be needed in the company. Then recruitment and selection talent, we can have the selection model also, knowledge test, skill set, personality test, practical exams, case study assessments, questionnaires, personal file reviews, so on and so forth. So this is again in continuation of the tools and techniques, that we know that what kind of people do we need and what kind of skill we are requiring, whether the person should be good with their communication skill, negotiation skill, forecasting skills, analytical skills, problem solving skills, retention skills, whatever it is. Then the next one which we have is related with the integrating new employees. Now we know that if new employees, they are settled in the company and over the period of time they are performers, that means they are going to stay in the company. But over the period of time, if you are observing they are not performing, they are doing misconduct, they are indisciplined, every now and then they are being reprimanded, every now and then they are being handled or they are being scolded by their managers, that means something is going wrong somewhere. That means in times to come, we can actually identify so many people, they will not be staying in the company. That is also one of the ways by which we can identify. So the integration part, if the employees, they are able to integrate themselves with the entire structure, that means they have got acclimatized, and once they have got acclimatized, that means they will be performing to the best of capabilities. Then number 5, which you can see on the screen, is all related with training and development. Maybe the individual study, master, somebody may be master holder, degree program holder, or maybe bachelor's, or maybe doctorate. Somebody might have done some kind of internships, somebody might have done some kind of specialized trainings or the job rotations. So all these points which are mentioned on the screen related with training and development, that also gives us an idea that what kind of people or what kind of influx of people we are getting in the company. So if the influx is talented, skillful, and they need less of supervision and they are experienced, that means we are having a productive workforce. And on the flip side, if the accident rates are high, if the turnover is high, or people are novice, people they have no idea, or maybe just the undergrad people are joining the company, they don't have any internship experience or apprenticeship training. So we can identify that okay, these are the set of people where the company has to really work very hard to make them more productive. Then number 6, it talks about the communication strategies, that is information dissemination through various mails, emails, written communication, balance scorecard is there, instruction set provisions for specific activities, organization, internal communication tool utilization, for example, panels with high performers within the organization. So one of the tools for the HRP is all the communication strategies that we have. So these communication strategies, if a mail has been dropped to people regarding maybe if a company is not doing well, so there is a word which is known as VRS, Voluntary Retirement Scheme, that is known as a golden handshake. So if a company drops a mail and if people they respond to them, that means okay, these are the people who will be leaving the organization. Or we can have LIFO, last in first out, FIFO, first in first out. Those things can also be applied in the company. So with the help of communication strategies, we can come to know who are the people who are productive and who are the people who are unproductive. So communication throughout the organization is very, very essential. And at any point of time, if there's a breakdown of the communication, then the problem arises, and then it is very, very difficult to handle the situation. So, communication strategies can also be one of the tools of HRP. Then it can be related with the HR assessment. There can be different assessment drives that can be initiated. They can be interviews, they can be evaluations, they can be overall assessment, functional evaluation, self-assessment tests, so on and so forth. Lastly, it talks about the career development. That means job analysis for career planning creation, mentoring session, tutoring programs, coaching sessions, understanding people's growth opportunity. If these things they are well placed in the company, then the planning can be very effectively done. And if the planning is done effectively, forecasting is there. So, planning and forecasting, though, they go hand in hand. Since they both are future aspect or future related concept, they cannot be approx. But these are the ways by which we can actually do lot of planning. With the help of assessments, we can come to know who are the performers, who are not the performers, who really want to move ahead, who are the people who are ready for the growth opportunities, who are the people who are ready to take up promotions, who are the people who are ready to take up the transfers. At times, my dear friends, we face the situation that people are not ready to take up any transfer. Neither they are ready to take up the transfer nor promotion because they may be leaving their hometown, or maybe because of their own personal reasons they don't want to leave a particular city or a area. So, all those things they are a part of our HRP. So, we can actually identify what kind of planning has to be done. Then it says that there can be different forms of HRP, that is the HR plans are mainly divided according to the period of their applicability. So, there can be the strategic planning, intermediate planning, operational planning and activities planning. So, if there is strategic planning, again we know that the strategic planning is something which is done by the top management, and strategic planning is always done for the long term, because any planning which is done may be related with the expansion part or maybe diversification part, or maybe they are trying to bring in some new technology, or they are having some kind of projection, okay, over the period of time we are going to have so many branches, so on and so forth. So, definitely we will be requiring a huge manpower. So, that in that case that manpower supply analysis is done. Then basically strategic planning is for more than 5 years. Intermediate planning is like forecasting total staffing level, forecasting number of managers and key personnel, forecasting net changes in managers and key personnel year by year. It is basically for 3 to 5 years. So, any planning which we do for a period of 3 to 5 years, maybe if you are trying to bring in new product, or maybe if you are trying to identify our deficiencies, which are the products which are going well or doing well in the market, which are the products which are not doing well in the market. So, that is a kind of an intermediate planning. But if a company plans to bring out a new product all over, then that would be a strategic planning. Then thirdly, it talks about the operational planning. Now, operational planning is basically for a 1 year plan. 1 year business plan is all related with the operational planning. So, any planning which is done for the period of 1 year, in 1 year what we are going to do, or maybe detailings related with HR activities, they are being done in the case of operational planning. Maybe in 1 year plan, for example, we can have some kind of training budgets. Okay, then the company has made up its mind, okay, that we are going to have maybe there is a target of 300 employees training programs. Maybe 300 people they will be trained, or training programs will be conducted by the company. So, that would be a kind of an operational planning, that okay, in a 1 year the target is to train at least 300 employees of the company. Then lastly, it talks about the activities planning. Now, activities planning, it's all related with the day-to-day HR activities. It is on the basis of daily or weekly, anything which is related with attendance, anything which is related with discipline, anything which is related with performance, target achievement. All these things, they are our activity planning. So, in the case of activity planning, we can find out who are the people who are regular, who are the people, how they are behaving. So, once I will be talking about the performance appraisal topic with you all, there we will be coming to know that what are the things that one has to take into consideration once we are talking about the performance appraisal. So, it is just not the targets, but it is also the attitudinal part or maybe the emotional part, how one behaves, how one reacts, how one maybe how people they perform. It could be related with their anything which is related with their before the appraisal part, or maybe during the appraisal part, or maybe once they are done with it, how is their communication pattern, how do they give us the performance or maybe the feedback. So, there are different aspects which can be related with our operational our activity planning. So, it could be anything for example, it could be if we see any kind of format, it could be related with the attitudinal part, behavioral part, how one behaves, or for example, it could be anything how well the person achieves the target, or maybe what is the job knowledge of the person, or maybe whether the people they are dependent on one person or on the other person, so on and so forth, that can be taken into cognizance. So, these were the different forms of HRP. Then this is another chart from my own book of HRM from by Dr. Rakhi Gupta. Now, since in HRP we are talking about we are talking about demand and supply. So, once we have talked about the demand and supply, so demand, how do we analyze the demand? It is with the help of demand forecasting. So, let me come to the system of sources of supply. So, how do we get people? For example, I know that there is once we have identified our inventory base, people are there in the company. So, what will be the sources? There will be two sources, internal and external. So, once we talk about the internal sources, it is all related with transfer, promotion, retired employees and laid off, and the external is of course from the outside the organization. So, in the case of internal, for example, if a vacancy has fallen vacant, then internally one can be transferred from one place to the other. Promotions can be given, for example, if one is working as a ZSM, then the promotion can be given as a ZBM. So, that is also a way of filling up the vacancy. Then retired employees, now retired employees, they can be re-employed. Now, re-employed means it is good for the company because they have perfect knowledge about the company's culture, rules and regulation, everything. And lastly, laid off. Now, laid off is a concept which says that it is the incapacity of the company to provide employment to the people. So, in the case of layoff, people are actually not terminated out of their jobs, but the conditions are such that they may not be given full salaries, but some part of money is being given to them. So, those people they can also fill up the position because they also are the ones who are well equipped with the company's knowledge, rules and regulation. And lastly, from outside the organization, if the demand is high and the supply is less, then naturally we have to go for external recruitment. Then another chart, a very important chart, again this is a chart from my own book only. It says that the internal supply forecasting is depicted in the following figures. Now, this is a chart that tells us, we all know that in the case of human resource planning, we are actually identifying the manpower inventory, and once we have that kind of manpower inventory, we know that whether we are falling short or do we have the surplus. Now, in case, what are the ways by which people they can be brought into the organization? So, it says that in the case of if you can see that arrow, it talks about the employees in and employees out. So, employees in, basically it talks about the transfers, promotions, new hires and recall. So, anyone can be transferred from one position to the another, the vacancy is filled up. One can be promoted from one particular position to the another position. For example, if one is working as a junior clerk, that person can be promoted as a senior clerk. Then they can be a kind of new hire, that they basically means where there is a change in the organizational design, or there is a change in the organizational structure, or any change in the company profile. New people they can be recruited for that purpose. Then in the case of this recall, now it says that people who were already working in a company, they can be recalled and they can be asked to fill up the vacancies. So, they are the ones who are very experienced, very knowledgeable, and they know how to handle things, they know everything. So, they can be different kind of matrices that can be adopted to fill up the position. So, mainly they are all related with the transfers, promotion, new hires, and they are all related with the recall. Then once we have that current staffing level, the next arrow which you can see, employees out, how that vacancy is actually created. So the source of outflow is all related with promotions. For example, Mr. X is working in one company and Mr. X move on to the next company. He is getting a better position, a better salary and maybe a preferred location. So he or she will leave the company. So that is when the person will leave, he or she is getting a better position. Then they quit. That means the person can leave the organization, him or herself, on their own, maybe because of some personal reason, maybe because of some reasons known best to them. For example, somebody may be getting married, maybe somebody doesn't wants to work, doesn't wants to serve any organization, they want to start the company, they may quit the company. Then another way how people move out of the company is with the help of terminations. Now maybe if somebody has committed a big crime and then the person is terminated. In our previous lectures we just discussed something related with discipline. In the discipline, one of the important aspect of an HR manager is that we have to ensure that no employee is too harshly penalized for trivial issues, and if anyone who commits a very heinous crime, he is not let off so easily. So one of the ways is termination. People may be given a pink slip on various grounds depending upon the gravity and the severity of the crime that they have done or the kind of misconduct or indiscipline that they have actually committed. Another way by which the employee can move out of the organization is with the help of demotion. People may be demoted from one position to the another because of different reasons. So if anybody is getting demoted, one particular vacancy falls vacant and the another gets filled up. Another way of employee moving out of the company is all related with the retirement. Retirement is, again, this is an age factor. If anyone is attaining the age of 62, 65, they may be moved out of the company. So anyone who we just spoke about the retirement index also. So with the help of retirement index, we can come to know how many people are leaving the organization in times to come and how those vacancies they have to be fulfilled. Then the another point which you can see on the screen is all related with death. So death is inevitable. Anyone can die at any point of time. It's no surety who is going to serve the organization for how long. So since it's an inevitable part of our life, death is a very, very serious way by which the employees leave the company. Then the layoffs, as I told you, layoff is nothing but it's just the incapacity of the company to provide you with the employment opportunity or employment conditions because of several reasons. Then you can see that here there is a current staffing level. We have the projected outflow this year, projected inflow this year, and it is equal to the units internal supply for this time and next year. So with the help of this chart, what I am trying to figure out is that what are the ways by which the employees they can be brought in our company and what are the ways by which the employees leave our company. If you remember, my dear friends, when I was discussing about the process of HRP, we were discussing one of the most important steps is identification of the inventory gap. So this inventory gap is basically all related with demand and supply. If demand is high, supply is less, definitely we need to get new people from the outside, and if it is vice versa, then people from within they can fill up the position. So the things which are mentioned on the left hand side of the chart are the ways by which the vacancies can be filled up internally. That is with the help of transfers, promotion, layoff, recalls. These are the ways by which the people they can fill up the vacancy. And we also discussed as to how these people they can leave the organization. So on the right hand side, if you know that, just to reiterate myself, it is with the help of termination, or if anyone quits the job, or if anyone maybe how one can quit a job. For example, anybody can take a VRS also, voluntary retirement scheme. Somebody can opt for a VRS scheme. So if anybody if anyone takes up the voluntary scheme, so it's a kind of a golden handshake with the company. Or maybe the person may be getting terminated, maybe the person leaves the organization, maybe the person has met with an accident and the person has become incapacitated, or maybe his efficiency is not as efficient as it used to be earlier. There can be number of factors as to why people leave the organization on their own. And above all, the most worst part of exit part is all related with termination. People may be terminated by the company. Maybe this termination is not necessarily that it has to be because of the any misconduct or an indisciplined action. It could be because of any other reason. It can be related with maybe the industry is not working well, maybe they do not have the demand for their products, maybe the competition is too high. Then they may ask people to leave the company, or in other words, there's a word which is known as retrenchment. So once we have that kind of retrenchment stuff, people, they are asked to leave the company on their own, and then all those benefits which they are entitled to, they get all those benefits. So in a nutshell, what we can say is that HRP is nothing, it's just a kind of a projection that we have in terms of the demand and supply of the manpower or the workforce. We have to again identify what are the objectives, what is our inventory, what kind of gap do we have, whether we have surplus or whether we have shortage. So if it is surplus, again the different action is taken. If there is a shortage, another different action is taken. And as a HR professional, since we have that kind of inventory, we should know who are the right set of people who can fill up that particular vacancy. So that is what we say now, that in the case of HR, right person at the right place at the right time for the right kind of a job. So as an HR professional, one has to understand which job requires which job skill. So we know that what kind of people do we have in a company, whether the person is capable enough to fill up that required vacancy or no, and what kind of planning we are doing, whether we are doing the planning for short term, long term. So if the planning is for the long term, then the action will be different. If the planning is for the short term, then the action will be quite different. So ultimately, here the analysis part, here the metrics part plays a very important role. For example, we just discussed about the tools and techniques of HRP. So there were different indexes, different ways by which we actually do the forecasting method. There can be some kind of succession planning that can be done, which can help us to decide about the demand forecasting. So as an HR professional, one should be very, very well versed with the kind of people we have in a company and who are the best suited people who can fill up the needed vacancies in times to come. And how these needed vacancies are created? They are just created by the way of termination, maybe death, maybe voluntary exit, or maybe retrenchment, or maybe by layoff. People may be laid off because of a number of reasons. So if a company is not doing well and they know that there is surplus of people, they may be asked to be laid off. Then there can be retrenchment, as I told you earlier. So there can be different ways by which one can actually leave the organization. Then coming on to the next slide, which you can see, it talks about the limitations of HRP. Now, limitations of HRP, till now I am sure you might have understood what is the meaning of HRP. So HRP is nothing, is just making a decision of the kind of people that we require in the organization. And since it's a continuous process that begins with the objectives of HRP and ends with the appraisal or the feedback and the control of planning process. So this process is quite cumbersome. It seems easy, but it's quite cumbersome. So whether we are recruiting or we are going for the reduction techniques, it's a huge process. So while doing this HRP, there can be number of limitations that can be faced. For example, the future is quite uncertain. There are several external factors, technological, political, social, cultural, that can affect the employment opportunities. Therefore, the management can consider the HRP as a guiding factor and cannot rely upon it completely. So naturally, as I told you, that planning and forecasting, they go hand in hand. So since planning is a continuous process, forecasting is again for future, nothing can be certain. It is just an approximation that okay, we may need so many people, we may require, but again there are a number of factors, that is PEST, P-E-S-T, political, economical, social and technological, that can play as a hindrance also. So that is one of the limitations that we have in the case of human resource planning. Secondly, with the surplus manpower, the companies try to remove this imbalance using termination, layoff, removal of the existing employees. This could create a sense of insecurity among them, and that would result in the loss of their faith in the company. Actually, one of the most satisfying factor for any employee is the job security. And when a question marks comes on the job security, there may be a chaos that can be created in the company. There can be kind of inner feeling where people feel that, okay, my job is not secure, and once my job is not secure, they cannot have that kind of TRS, trust, respect and support. I have been using consistently, and that is mentioned in my book also very frequently. Trust, respect and support. They start losing the faith in the organization. There's an insecurity. What if I am the next one? What if I am the next one to be retrenched? What if I am the next one to be laid off? So once there is a kind of an insecurity, people are not able to give in their best shot. They cannot focus on their work. And once they are not able to focus on their work, again all 3P, productivity, performance and profitability, they go down. And if all 3P they go down, no company would like to relish it in any manner. So this is one of the biggest limitation that one faces in the case of HRP. If there is a shortage, there's a kind of a positivity created in the environment. Okay, so and so company is hiring. There are so many vacancies that are out. But if it is a negative one, so nobody would like to have negativity in the company. So there's a kind of an insecurity which people have to come out of it very easily. But it's very easy to say, but one actually faces it in pragmatic situation. It's very difficult that people are not able to intake that. Then the third one which we can see on the screen is related with the time consuming, since it collects the complete information regarding the personal requirements of each department and then finds the suitable sources to satisfy the need. Now HRP is very, very time consuming. Reason being, in a company there is not just one department which is working. They are everybody's efforts, they are orchestrated in a particular department. For example, if there is a shoemaking company, so in the case of shoemaking company, there will be a department which will be responsible for the purchases. There would be a department which will be responsible for washing, then designing, then stitching, then marketing, then finance, then IT. There are a number of departments, and each department has its own requirement. So as an HR professional, it becomes quite a tedious task to understand what kind of requirement do they have, to collaborate or to compile the entire data into one. Because you might have seen even in the newspaper advertisement also, since the company they try to cut corners, whenever there are any vacancies which are advertised, they will not be advertising vacancy for each vacancy. Maybe they give you one advertisement in the newspaper, okay, but Mr. Such company need 4 mechanic, they need 2 electrician, they need 2 production manager, they need 2 IT professional. That means their vacancies, they are all compiled in one. So that compilation is very, very difficult task, and it's a very, very time consuming part, time consuming activity which is actually performed by the company. So one of the biggest limitations of HRP is that there is a lot of time which has to be devoted by the HR personnel in understanding the requirement of different department, and then of course going and searching and doing the entire work of recruitment, selection, training. That thing actually continues once we understand. So once we understand what is the exact need, only then we can proceed. For example, if a doctor is able to diagnose your problem properly, only then he or she will be able to give you the right prescription. So is the case with HR also. If the people, they understand what exactly they want, only then the HR department can go out and search for the right candidate. Then HRP planning is an expensive process. All the activities carried out from the time the manpower need arises till the final placement of employees consumes lot of time and is very expensive. Naturally, it's not an easy task. Money is involved. Maybe we are going for recruitment, maybe big companies, IT companies, maybe the stalwarts, they don't want people from one area, they want people from pan India, for example. So if they want people from pan India, people have to travel, people have to go. Maybe one of the sources of recruitment is for campus placement. So that there can be campuses all over India. We can go to any campus. So of course, money is spent on their traveling, on their lodging, on their TA, DA. all those things they have to be borne by the company. So it says that it is easy to say but difficult to be carried out. So one of the most important drawbacks of any HRP is that it is time consuming, not only time consuming, but that is very expensive also. Money has to be spent by the company on retention of the people, or maybe searching for the right perspective, so on and so forth. Thus, the firm must carry out the human resource planning cautiously, since it is accorded with several limitations that can adversely affect the overall functioning of the firm. So, my dear friends, it's a very good concept, HRP, but simultaneously it has lot of drawbacks also. So, if you wish to be one of the HR executive, HR personnel, HR manager, one should have that kind of business acumen, that what kind of people do we actually require and what kind of planning has to be done. That planning has to be done so meticulously, it should be done so meticulously that at any point of time the company has to face a drop, or the company has to fail a fallout. So that is very essential. So that's all for my lecture today. So in our gist, what we can say, that HRP, in case if anybody asks you what is HRP, just tell them it is more or less, it revolves around the demand and supply of the man force, and then the other process they follow. So I am sure in these two lectures that I have just delivered on HRP, the concept of human resource planning is quite clear to you, right from the features, right from the objectives, right from the need, the model, the process, limitation, the way the sources is done, the way the demand forecasting is done, and of course related with the limitations also. Thank you so much.